Hi everybody, Adam here. Today we're taking a look at the Bricklink Designer Program 2021 Invitational. I'm super excited for this latest iteration of the Designer Program. Bricklink and the LEGO Ideas team have invited a select group of LEGO Ideas 10K Club designers to bring their projects and to update them and participate in this program. The designers that have been selected have between now and May 31st to take their projects and make sure that they meet the piece count restrictions and part restrictions that are laid out as part of the program. And then their builds will be going through a number of test builds to make sure that they're, that they qualify for the crowdfunding phase. The projects that make it to the crowdfunding phase will then be open for people to support by placing pre-orders. And the first 13 to meet their crowdfunding goals, as I understand it, will become actual sets. And then the other projects will be, people who've backed them and that will be able to purchase them as digital instructions, which I think is a really cool idea. I think I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a number of great sets out of this, but I think the ability to get instructions for the other ones is great as well, so that we get a chance to build and see these awesome projects in our own collections, but also get as much exposure as possible to some of the amazing build ideas and approaches that a lot of these designers have. And then the sets, as once they get through the crowdfunding phase, then production begins in September 2021. So today what I wanted to do is to go through some of these awesome projects that have been laid out here and talk through ones that I'm excited about and looking forward to, and just my general thoughts on these projects. So let's start out by looking at the train station Studgate first. I've seen this project before on social media, and I think it looks really cool. I'm really excited about it. I think the designer has done an amazing job with the overall architecture of the build, all the windows that are built into it using quite a variety of pieces, and they've also got some really nice walkways throughout the station as well. So I think this build is definitely a must-have on my list, and that I'm super excited to back this and hopefully get it as an actual set. But I really think this would be a great addition to anybody's Lego city. So quite excited about this one, and we'll be following it closely. For each of the projects, you can go through and read a description about the project. Talks about the part count. This one has 460 unique parts, 3,885 total parts, and uses 29 colors. And it talks about the characters that would be included with it. So super excited about this set. And this project, and definitely hopeful that it becomes a set, because it's on the top of my wish list. Next up, we have the Seasons in Time calendar. I think this is a really neat idea. It is, I like the main central structure. I like the fact that it has the days of the week, the day of the month, and the month name. And then it's a cool idea that you can put a little build on top of the display case there to signify either the current season, like fall, winter, summer, or specific holidays that are going on either in the month that you're on, or on the day that you're looking at. So you can have Valentine's, you can have the Christmas tree there, birthday. So I think this is an interesting project. I'm curious to see where this one goes. I think it's got a lot of potential for some really cool things to be done with it, and it would be a great display piece. So I'm quite interested in this one, and I think that it has a lot of potential. The part count on this one, so we got 158 unique parts, 1,405 total parts using 20 colors. So definitely a cool one, and looking forward to seeing how that one progresses. Next up, we have the 1950s diner. I really like the overall look of this one. I think it's got an interesting design aesthetic with the retro vibe. Really like the layout of the diner inside. I think it would be a nice addition to a Lego city. And I think the car addition with the octane gas pump is a nice one as well. So I think they've done some interesting things here. I really like that sign on top too. I like how the burger and fries are on either side of it. So definitely one that I think would work well in our Lego city and would be a cool idea. This one, the part count, 276 unique parts, 1,115 total parts using 32 colors. So a fun, definitely another fun city build that, I think would be great for a lot of people's Lego cities. Next up, we've got Kakapo, and this is a cool parrots build. I've got the Lego Ideas bird set that was out a number of years ago. It was definitely a cool one, and I could see this displaying well with other Lego bird builds that people might have. This one has 185 unique parts, 1,043 total parts with 18 colors. And is definitely one that I think would be a nice display piece. So interested to see how this one progresses and what the general opinions are of people, but definitely one that I think would be a cool one to build and have on display. Another one of my personal favorites, the Castle in the Forest. I'm a really big Lego Castle fan. And I think that this would be an amazing set to get. Really like how they've got the central structure, and then I think they've done a great job around it of putting in lots of details with rock and various landscape elements. I think this would work great with the medieval blacksmith and other castle builds that people might have in their cities. So super hopeful that this one is well received and picks up a lot of support, and is another one that's really high on my list of sets to get. Really, just great overall structure, lots of great elements on all the various sides. Like the fact that it can open up to show some elements inside. So really hopeful that this one will do well, and looking forward to potentially adding this into our Lego city. And in terms of parts, this one has 515 unique parts, 1,928 total parts, and 25 colors. So super excited, a great looking set, and definitely will be following this one closely. Next up, we have the Winter Chalet project. I think this one looks really cool. Definitely could fit well with the Winter Village sets that Lego releases every year. Really like some of the design choices on the exterior there, like the log pile under the stairs. I think all the vines coming up the side of the chalet are nice, and the window flower boxes are really cool. And then you can see on the inside lots of great details. Bedrooms, you got the kitchen area with tables there. Just a lot of fun, I think, that could be had with this set, and it would definitely be a great addition to Lego cities everywhere. The part count on this one, we've got 415 unique parts, 2,628 total parts using 37 colors. Another one that I'm pretty excited about. I'm always very quick to pick up the Winter Village sets every year, and this definitely feels to me like it could fit in quite well with those. So very interested to see how this one progresses, and another one that's up on my wish list. Next up, we have the Working Waterfall. This is a cool idea. I'm interested in learning more about this one, but I think that it would be a very neat display element. I like the micro scale qualities to it. I think it looks pretty interesting. Lots of neat elements on it. I think they've done a great job not only with the waterfall, but with all the trees and the foliage around it and the rocks. So, I wasn't sure about this one right away, but looking at it more and more, I think there's some cool elements here that would be fun to build and to work with. So, I'm definitely interested in this one. I think that it. Also the fact that that it is motorized and that you can get some movement in there. I think it's a great display piece, and definitely one that I'll be keeping an eye on. Piece-wise, 310 unique parts, 2,150 total parts using 27 colors. Definitely one that I encourage people keep an eye on, because it should be a great display piece, and I think there's a lot of interesting techniques just by kind of looking at this that would be interesting to learn more about and to potentially apply then elsewhere. So a cool project. Next up, we have the Dive Shop, and this one stood out for me right away. It reminded me of the old fishing shop. Really was a big fan of that set, and I could see this fitting very well, in a city in conjunction with that. Really like how they've got all the dock area underneath and around the building with the boats there. I always like seeing that. I think it gives a lot of potential for story elements around these structures. So nice to see the addition of that there. And, just overall a really nice look to it. So I'm quite excited about this one. Again, I think it will pair up nicely with the old fishing shop. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Part wise, again, there's a number of these that are over 2,000 parts, quite large in size. This one has 418 unique parts, 2,334 total parts using 29 colors. So I think the designer has done a wonderful job with this one, and definitely looking forward to learning more about it and seeing what others think. Next up, we have the Great Fishing Boat. This one looks really impressive. I don't generally build boats, but I think that they've done quite a nice job with this one in that. It's got a fishing trawler sort of vibe to it, and one that looks it's just generally quite impressive. So I'm excited about this one, and that just from the standpoint that, like I said, I don't normally build boats, but I could see this one being an enjoyable build and a great display piece. And again, you can see on the back there, it's got the French flag and the great little life raft, motorboat at the back there. So lots of great elements throughout this one. So definitely one to keep an eye on, especially if you're into Lego boats. And in terms of part numbers, this one is 327 unique parts, 1,470 total parts using 23 colors. So not as big as some of the other ones, but still a lot of pieces to get all of that detail throughout the build. So it definitely one to keep an eye on, especially, like I said, if you're a fan of Lego boats. But even beyond that, I think that there's some interesting techniques going on here with the hull likely, and some of those detail elements that would be definitely worth trying out and interesting to learn more about. Next up, we have the Legend of the Bionicle. A really cool micro scale build that shows some historical elements from Bionicle. Really like what they've done here with splitting this up into 3 different scenes. Uh, really nice details throughout. So really cool to see not only a Bionicle related build in here, but an interesting micro scale build that I think would be a lot of fun to build, and then will result in a great display piece. So really cool. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on this one. I know my son is a huge Bionicle fan, and I just in general, not only the Bionicle aspect of it, but the micro scale aspect as well really intrigues me. So quite interested to see how this one progresses and to learn more about it. Definitely could see it being very popular. And you can see in the description here, it talks a little bit about the different scenes that are included. So definitely one to keep an eye on, especially if you're a fan of Bionicle or micro scale builds. Next up, we have the Brick West Studios. I think this is a cool idea. Really like the Old West style Lego builds, and to get a little bit of an element of that in conjunction with a film studio vibe, I think is a really neat idea. I could see a lot of interesting builds and things that could come out of this set, and a lot of interesting ways to adapt it to fit in with with your own Lego city. I think they've included a lot of interesting elements inside the saloon area. Really like the not only the chandelier, but the skeleton of the cattle up on top. Piano down below. I think they've done just an excellent job both on the interior and the exterior of this build. So quite excited about this one. I can see a lot of potential in this. Neat idea. And looking at the part numbers here, 626 unique parts, 2,983 total parts using 40 colors. Definitely a lot of detail packed into this build, and a cool idea that will hopefully come to fruition. But definitely, that's one of the things as you go through all of the different projects here, they've definitely gone and pulled things from different ends of the spectrum, which I think is great. It's going to appeal to a lot of different members of the Lego community. So I think they've really done a great job with the different projects they've pulled in here. Next up, we've got Space Troopers. Neat little spaceship build with some robots. Neat idea. Really nice looking spaceship. This one, surprisingly, 2,622 total parts, 479 unique parts, 22 colors. I would not have guessed that from looking at the build that it was going to be that many parts, but again, a really cool idea. Interesting to include some space, a space set into the sets that we're looking at here, the projects. So really well done. I think this is going to appeal to a lot of people who are big space fans, and definitely a well done project. So cool to see this included in here. Next up, we've got a couple of projects here from JK Brickworks. Really love his work in general. We've got the Pursuit of Flight. Awesome idea. I always love seeing his kinetic sculptures in that. This one with the different planes that you can have, flying through the air as if they're in a dogfight, I think is really cool. And it's always interesting to learn a bit more about his design approach by working through his instructions for builds, to see how all the gearing works and how things come together. So super excited about this. definitely will be following this one and looking forward to it hopefully becoming a full product. But definitely another one that's on my my radar to personally look at getting. And you know, as I said, always excited about building his instruction sets that he releases out. So looking forward to this one. And the next project by JK Brickworks is the Particle Accelerator. Another interesting project. Always like the fact that his projects always include movable elements. So I think this is a cool idea. Interested to see what other people think and how you know, how it is received. But like I said, I'm always a really big fan of his projects and his builds. So definitely interested in watching this one and learning more about it and seeing how it does. But, you know, great to see these kinetic sculptures and builds in here. You know, as again, another corner of the world of Lego that's well represented here. So nice to see. Moving on, we've next got the Lego Store Modular. I think this is a really neat idea. You know, everybody really likes to build Lego stores in their cities, and this is a pretty nice one. I like the structure on the front there. The gears up at the top give some nice detail on the front facade of the building. And I like the fact that the back opens up and you can see the employees working and doing stuff back there. And it's a great store layout as well, with the pick-a-brick wall and various sets for sale in there. A lot of nice elements. So I think this would be a really cool set. Kind of surprised Lego hasn't done something like this, a more involved modular style building, but cool to see it in the list here. And I can see this doing really well and being quite popular. So definitely a nice one to see in the list. Next up, we have the Ruined House. Really cool to see this style of building represented here. It's kind of a ramshackle, dilapidated house. Think it would be really cool to see how all the techniques at work in a set like this. Definitely a lot of great work here in terms of not only the the roof structure there, getting the holes in the roof looking great there, but the hole in the wall where things have been broken down and the windows are falling over. Just, you know, a lot of great stuff going on here that would be really cool to learn more about. So definitely we'll be keeping an eye on this one. And that tree is really great as well. So lots of great work here. This is definitely a different style of build, but I think some interesting things going on here that would be cool to learn more about. And this is quite a large project. 299 unique parts, 4,016 total parts using 19 colors. So definitely one to keep an eye on, and definitely one that would be, I think, would be very educational to build and see how it is put together. Next, we have the Lego Observatory Mountain View. Definitely a neat idea. I could see this being quite popular, as people would want to have something like this on display in their Lego cities. I like the fact that it's got the dome can turn and open, and that the building itself can be opened up, so you can see all the stuff going on inside. And just it's a cool concept, a neat building to have that is not represented in people's Lego cities at the moment. So definitely a cool one that would be a nice addition to people's Lego cities. So we'll be following this one and seeing how it progresses. Now, this next one looks really cool to me. Very steampunk-esque. It's like kind of like steampunk met Ninjago City, just from my first look at it. The Exploratorium, really neat idea. Looking at it, I could definitely see this being a cool one to get and just to kind of dissect, and I could see it being a good jumping off point for some interesting builds. Lots of great details throughout. Love all the gear works throughout. So I'm quite excited about this. This isn't one that I necessarily thought like right off the bat, like, oh, that's one that I would want to pick up. But looking very closely at it and that, I'm quite impressed with what they've done. And again, one that I think would kind of kick off a number of interesting builds that you could do around it, as well as being one that's got some interesting techniques at play that would be cool to learn more about and to work through. So this is on my list of ones to consider and to look at. Quite excited about it. 696 unique parts, 3,173 total parts, 42 colors. So quite a big one in that, and very interesting and impressive looking. The more you look at it, kind of the more you get drawn into to look at all the different aspects of it. So quite cool and well done. Next up, we have the modular construction site. I think this is a cool idea. I have seen this on social media before. Be great to get another Lego crane into the Lego city, and a nice concept to have a construction site that you could add into your Lego city. Overall, the build looks really well done. Lots of great details throughout. So really well done here, and I can see this being quite popular. So I'm hoping it will do well, and it will be one that I can definitely consider on my list of ones to get. And like I said, I'm always a big fan of Lego cranes, so getting another crane in there with a construction site is definitely a win in my opinion. And it's surprisingly large. We've got 649 unique parts, 4,249 total parts, using 28 colors. So definitely one I recommend people keep on their list to look at for adding to their Lego city. Definitely really well done. Next up, we've got the Clockwork Aquarium. This is another cool sort of display piece that I could see being quite popular. Like the fact that it's got the crank that can turn, and you can see the fish swim around as that crank moves. And some nice little elements added in there as well. So definitely a cool one. I think these display element ones are nice, and I could see them being quite popular with people. It is also one of the smaller ones in the project list. 166 unique parts, 544 total parts, using 27 colors. Again, nice to see a mix of builds. It's not just all city builds. We've got different themes. We've got some kinetic ones that are kinetic sculptures that are moving around. Great mix of different types of sets. So very cool to see. Next, we have the mountain windmill, which is super impressive. I think the idea of a windmill build is quite neat. Like the fact that the windmill will turn, and this is another one that I could see being fun to build and to learn how they sort of put things together. But would also be a great kickoff point for other builds that you might want to do that would work in conjunction with it. So definitely a nice idea, really well done, looks great, and definitely worth keeping an eye on. So this one is 498 unique parts, 2,067 total parts, using 38 colors, and quite well done. That windmill is super impressive. Next, we have Sheriff's Safe with combination lock. Another interesting one. It's definitely a different look and feel compared to some of the other builds, which I think is great. It's always nice to make sure that you can see great representation across the different ways people use Lego bricks. Another relatively small one at 199 unique parts, 546 total parts. But it's got the working lock mechanism, and it's just it's another great display piece in that it has a lot of story and personality, in a relatively small number of bricks. So really cool to see, and definitely one that I'll be keeping an eye on, because I think it's interesting to see how people sort of put these together and the thought process in behind making some of these unique elements and different components. So definitely an interesting one to watch and learn from. Next up, we've got Anatomini. Really cool idea. I've watched this on social media. Really think it's an exciting idea to see the interior of a minifigure. Really cool idea. I think they've added a lot of personality to the skeleton, and showing all the internal organs there. So I'm super excited about this. I've been following this for a while and was hoping that it would become a Lego set, and so I think it's neat to see it added to the list here. You can see the brain inside the head up there. Just super well done. I think it's got a lot of personality to it, but is also a great display piece and a great learning piece. You can see all the different components of the body that are on display here. So a lot of fun, interesting things here, I think, to learn and to build in this set. So definitely one that I think would be cool to be realized as a set through this process. 471 unique parts, 2,522 total parts. So highly recommend keeping an eye on this one. I'm sure this one is going to be popular. I've seen it all over social media over the last few years as it moved along in its various states. So definitely going to be keeping an eye on this one. Next up, we have the Temple of Hermit. Cool Asian themed design here. Definitely feels like it could fit in with a Ninjago area. Really like all the details in the structure. Those curved roofs are amazing. And then, the flowers on there on the tree, just lots of great design elements here. So I think this could be a lot of fun for, not only for people who are a fan of the theming of it, but just to see how all the construction elements come together here, I think is going to be pretty amazing. So definitely one that I'll be keeping an eye on, and I think that a lot of other people will as well. And just, amazing elements here. And as you can see from some of these pictures, a lot of design details in close. As you get closer and closer, you just see more and more interesting things that jump out at you. So really impressive. No part numbers listed here, but I assume that it's quite a few parts, just given all of the fine detail and components that are likely going into making this structure. So really cool idea, and definitely one that I will be keeping an eye on. Next up, we've got the Boathouse Diner, another one that looks like it would go quite well with the old fishing shop. You could end up building out quite the waterside area with this and the dock set that we had before up there. So definitely will be keeping an eye on this, but I like how they've worked the front of the boat into the side of the building there. I think that's a neat idea. Looks very reminiscent of buildings that you would see, in San Francisco and other areas down by the water, where tourists and other people are going to eat. So really cool structure. Like I said, it'd be a great addition to any waterfront area in your Lego city. And between this and the other idea that we talked about earlier, you could, build out quite the waterfront from the sets in this, from the projects available here. Next up, we have the Science Adventures project. This is another smaller scale project. Definitely some nice little scenes here with minifigures, so it's a cool idea. And again, a nice mix here of some really large projects as well as some smaller ones. But I think really cool here to see the different types of scientists and the equipment that they would work with, and the little scenes related to the work that they do. So not a large project, but I think some really cool ideas here. 111 unique parts, 203 total parts. So definitely one to keep an eye on. I think that you could integrate some of the ideas here and some of the parts into making some very interesting scenes. So definitely one of those ones, I think, that cool idea that would be a Kickstarter for other things that you could do with your Lego projects. Next up, we've got Japanese old style architecture. Interesting idea here, like the representation of some different architecture and design elements. Definitely could see some ways to integrate something like this into your Lego city and or surrounding areas around your Lego city. So definitely cool here. Nice to see some, as I said, some different architecture and styles of building being represented. So definitely an interesting one. Next up, we've got the retro bowling alley. Again, there's a few retro ideas here. There's the bowling alley and the diner that we looked at earlier. Really cool additions, I think, to a Lego city. Really like the work they've done here on the sign for the bowling alley, but so much cool detail inside. Really nice, the way they've put those lanes together. I think the balls are a neat addition in there. So really cool idea. And as I said, I think this would be a great addition to the Lego cities. I could see it with the, in and around the diner as well, the diner modular building. So quite excited about this one. I think, another one that would fit well in our city. So cool idea. We've got the 378 unique parts, 2,458 total parts, and 30 colors. That's just the other thing too from some of these retro sets. You get just a nice different set of a different palette that they work with that would be cool to get some more parts in. So definitely one that I encourage people to keep an eye on. Interested to see how this one moves along, and would be, as I said, a great addition in your Lego city. Next up, we've got the Venetian Houses. Another example of some really interesting architecture. I love the rooftops on these buildings, but just really impressive in general what they've done here to put this together. Great part selection. I'm a huge fan of those masonry bricks, and they've got them in a couple different colors here, but just super well done build. I think this would be a fun one to build. Great parts, and I think there just would be a lot to learn from this in terms of their build process and how they put these together. So This is definitely one that I will be keeping an eye on, and I could see a lot of people being interested in. 451 unique parts, 3,672 total parts, 36 colors. Really well done project. Super polished. They've just, really well done, and looking forward to this one. Next up, we have the boat repair shop. Again, another one that could go into fleshing out your waterside parts of your city. Really cool concept and idea. I think that it would be a lot of fun to build, and would definitely, it's got a lot of character to it as a building, lots of different elements to look at and talk about with people, and for people who are visiting and looking at your city to sort of explore and dive into. So I think this is another cool one. I'm surprised actually just how much they've put into the waterfront side of the builds here, and that, because this is the third one that would kind of fit into a waterfront area around the old fishing shop. So a cool idea, and like I said, a lot of opportunities here to flesh that part of your city out. So a cool project, and we'll be interested to see in general how these do, and whether people are really keen on building all of these to fill out that part of their city. Last but not least, we've got the Quest Builder project. This reminds me a lot of the Heroica sets that Lego released back in the day. Really cool idea, a great opportunity here, I think, to end up with an interesting, very configurable gameplay space. Very Dungeons and Dragons-esque. Great different, design elements throughout all of the different rooms. Lots of great, sort of story building blocks that you could set up with this. So could definitely see this being a popular one, and definitely one that I'll be keeping an eye on and seeing how it comes together, because it's another one that's very different, in terms of the space of the Lego world that it inhabits, but I think it could be a lot of fun, and a lot of interesting elements, I think, in there in terms of learning and building up, and you could definitely extend this out to add a lot of different rooms over time, to continue to build out that dungeon space. This one contains 410 unique parts, 3,347 total parts, 39 colors, and just another one that's really well thought out and planned, and I could definitely see this being very popular with people. So that concludes our look at all of the projects that have been put into this latest round of the Bricklink Designer Program. A lot of really well done, polished projects in here that I think would be great to have. It's going to be interesting to see how they move from the pre-production phase to the crowdfunding phase, but I could see there being a lot of tough decisions for people, because there's going to be a lot of great sets to potentially purchase and own. So it'll be some tough choices down the line, but that's a great problem to have. I think they've done an excellent job of putting forth a good cross section of Lego projects here that'll appeal to a lot of people. And I think there'll be a lot of stiff competition to see which are the 13 projects that get realized into full-fledged sets, and which ones will just be available as digital instructions. Highly recommend you check this page out on the Bricklink site. I'll post a link down below. And definitely keep track of your favorite projects on here, and be ready when that crowdfunding phase starts to jump in and participate and help these projects realize their dream of being crowdfunded into an actual set. So thank you very much for joining us for our look at the Bricklink Designer Program 2021 Invitational. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again.